Jagrata. The path is so simple. Everything that goes on in your mind, if you are not aware of it, it wouldn't exist. It would make no difference. It's like what goes on behind you 3 miles away. If it doesn't hit your consciousness, it has nothing to do with you. But what goes on in your mind, you are aware of. And that is because it hit your consciousness, your awareness. The whole of your path is to realize that your mind, your emotions, which you feel, you experience, they come up to you, they rise and fall, they're strong and weak. Your energy patterns, your body, what it feels like to have a body. You know what it feels like to have a body? Can you feel it? Are you in it? You experience when breeze hits it, when sunlight falls on it. And so your mind, you see, you hear, your emotions, you feel, your body, you experience. And this world, your eyes, ears, nose, taste, touch, communicate back to you that it exists. There is one subject, you, consciousness, awareness, and all these objects, all of mind, all of emotions, all of body, and all of this world are objects to the subject, self. Self is subject. All else is the object that the self sees, hears, experiences. All of spirituality, the whole path, can be avoided, skipped, short-circuited. Go to God, directly to God. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just like that is how long it takes to be self-realized. The consciousness, you, who experiences all of this, all of it, hang out with that consciousness. Learn under all circumstances, at all times, to be aware that you are aware. And that's all that's happening. You are aware of what's happening. What's happening keeps changing. You don't. You keep being aware of what's happening. That's all. There's nothing else to do. There's no other path. If you pay attention to this, be diligent in the awareness of self, what will happen, because your consciousness is focusing on the consciousness, because you're being aware of the awareness itself, wherever your consciousness focuses, so the Shakti goes, so the Chi goes, so the energy goes. When you become conscious of being conscious, aware of being aware, then your energy stays seated in the awareness, because you turned it back on itself, just like that. Therefore, the energy builds up in the self. As you become aware of self, how do you become aware of self? First, you become aware of object. What object? Any object. Every object. Every thought, every feeling, every bodily experience, impulse, anything, and every single experience that comes in through your senses from outside. Become aware, then become aware of who is aware. That's all. That's centering. First, you're aware of whatever object you're focusing on. Then you snap back into who's aware. Who's aware that I'm aware? That's all. You don't ask it. You just do it. That's how you center on the self. And the fact that you have this interest in the awareness itself is consciousness being conscious of consciousness. Therefore, the Shakti turns back on itself, and it begins to build in the self, because it is not being dispersed elsewhere. As this takes place, the energy builds in the self and the consciousness. Consciousness becomes the object of consciousness. Usually consciousness is the subject, and objects outside, things are objects. And you have subject-object. When the consciousness becomes fascinated by contemplating the consciousness, becoming aware of who's aware, then the consciousness is the subject and the consciousness is the object. Now it's over. Because when consciousness becomes aware of the nature of consciousness, which happens to be ecstasy, bliss, joy, eternity, infinity, the absolute, there is nothing more enticing, nothing more beautiful than consciousness. And so when consciousness removes its awareness of objects, and consciousness becomes aware of the subject itself, consciousness, that loop that gets built, that circular loop, feeds on itself. And you begin to feel ecstasy, you begin to feel joy, you begin to marvel at what is going on inside of you. Like some people try to be positive. A yogi is not positive, nor is a yogi negative. A yogi is immersed in ecstasy. A yogi is immersed in the experience of what is going on in the self, which is ecstasy. So don't think that a yogi certainly has a very positive attitude on life. You don't have a positive attitude in life. Attitudes are things you watch, but you don't watch what you watch. You instantaneously become aware of who's watching what you watch. That simple step. Who is watching what I watch? So here you have thoughts. See, it's so easy. It happens all the time. You have the opportunity for spiritual growth every single millisecond. You have a thought. I don't care what the thought's about. I don't care if it's a positive thought, a negative thought, a nice thought, a very bad thought. Doesn't make any difference. A thought's a thought. When the thought comes by, obviously you're aware of it, or you wouldn't know it was there. Lots of things that go on in this world, you don't know they're there, you're not aware of them. Doesn't make no difference. But you are obviously aware of the thoughts. So if a thought enters your consciousness, enters your awareness, you have a choice. This is your moment of spirituality, right here, right now. Your choice is, what is more important to you? The object or the subject? What is more important to you? What the thought is about, or the fact that you saw it? To the yogi, it is fascinating that he saw it, not what it is. The it makes no difference. If it ain't that thought, it's going to be another one. Haven't you noticed? There's always going to be one. And so you look at it and you say, what do I want to do at this moment? Do I want to immerse my consciousness in the thought? Or do I want to use the very fact that I became aware of the thought to become aware of what became aware of the thought? That's it. That is your entire path. That is higher than meditation, that is higher than mantra, that is higher than books, that is higher than every single thing that you could ever do or not do. It's higher than renunciation. Just you name it. Have fun. Or do what I just said. And I guarantee you who's getting there sooner. All right? If you took one racer and put them on their knees and tied their arms and legs and said, go as fast as you can, and you put the other in that military jet that's supposed to go Mach 10, hear about that one? Goes from, what did they say, New York to LA in 30 minutes. That was a little sidelight I had to, I couldn't resist. So, who's going to win the race? The bound person on their hands and knees tied up gets started, or the Mach 10 new military jet? Okay? That's how close it would be if you did all that renunciation, meditated all the time, did all the yoga, fasted, did everything, turned all the mantra, read nothing but spiritual books, versus every thought you have, instead of being involved in the thought, be involved with who sees the thought. That's Mach 10. The other in relationship is crawling. So it is with your thoughts, so it is with your emotions. Ever have a bad emotion day? You have a bad emotion day. Walking around, you feel fear, you feel jealous, you feel insecure. Oh my God, I can't take her any worse. Okay? Every single emotion that manifests in you is a call to God. I don't care if it's love or hate. I don't care if it's fearlessness or fear. No difference. Exactly the same. They are exactly the same. They are vibrations that are coming up inside of you that you're aware of. Are you aware when you feel afraid? Are you aware when you feel strong? Are you aware when you feel weak? Well, obviously you wouldn't know it. Your choice is, do you get involved in the emotion? Oh my God, I'm so scared. What am I going to do? Maybe I could do this or do mantra. I got to walk a little bit because I'm so scared. How am I going to do? Oh, there you are. Get involved in the emotion. Get involved. Do something about it. Let it change where you're going or what you're saying or who you're with. Get involved in the vibration. Or, alternative, oh, look what I feel. Who feels? I'm so scared. How do you know? How do you know you're scared? Who knows? Who knows you're scared? Well, I do. Who? Do you get involved in the object or do you get involved in the subject? Do you get involved in what you're seeing or feeling? Or do you use that as a awakening call to be aware that you're aware, otherwise you wouldn't feel it? What is awareness? Who is aware of this? What is aware of this? Who am I who feels? Not what do I feel. Who am I who thinks? Not what do I think. Who am I who sees this world? Not what is it doing or why or how do I change it. You don't even know who you are. How can you ask, how do I change it? Know yourself first. So you sit there and at all times the objects come to you effortlessly. Always there's objects before the consciousness. Are you getting involved in the objects or are you using the objects to contemplate the subject? Are you hanging out with the seen or with the seer? And so you get to the point where you realize there really is only one way, and it is the self. Because, it's like it's the flashlight that's shining down. It illumines what it falls on, but you're not going to get anywhere by hanging out with what it illumines. You're going away from the light, not toward it. And so if you use every moment of your life, I challenge you so extremely, if you use every moment of your life to notice that you notice and contemplate who notices. The only reason you wouldn't do that is you're still hung up on what you notice. You still care what's out there. You still think that somehow the things out there have something to do with you. Oh, they do. You're conscious of them. They have about as much to do with you as the object that the flashlight falls on does to the flashlight. Nothing. Well, I'm illuminating it. Fine, move over there. What do you care? Think the flashlight cares? Make it shine for 3 years on one thing. Now move it. Gone. It's not attached. There's nothing. It's just the light. The light is whole within itself. It's self-effulgent. Like all the words they use to describe the self are so simple when you use them properly to another object. Is the light complete within itself? Is it self-effulgent? Is it completely detached from the object it's falling on? It's whole and complete within itself, isn't it? And is it not to the light that all objects, the Brahman, the rock, the dung, the gold, all are the same? It falls on all of those evenly, doesn't it? And it moves in and off of them at once. So what's so complicated about spiritual teachings? Nothing. The self is the flashlight of consciousness. It not only illumines, it awares. It knows that it knows. Like the flashlight doesn't know it's shining on there. You do, but it doesn't. The consciousness, when it falls upon an object, the object is illumined. It's illumined with awareness. It's illumined with consciousness. If I turn my consciousness away from an object, it's still there, but it's not illumined with consciousness. It has no awareness, is not on it. If all of a sudden I turn my attention to it, I can see only it and nothing else if I want to. Just put more consciousness on it. And it becomes the center of the conscious beam, just like the flashlight. So you eventually get to the point where you realize you're either getting involved in the objects or you're getting involved in the subject. That's all of it. That's everything. And how hard is it? You say, well, what technique do I use? What technique? What are you talking about? When you see something, ask who sees it. When you hear something, ask who hears it. And pay attention. Pay attention. I sometimes say to people, ask who sees it. I don't mind if you ask, but don't answer. You don't answer questions like that. If you answer, you'll watch your mind, and then who sees that? This is not about mind figuring it out. It's not about mind answering. It's about consciousness focusing on the act of consciousness. Awareness, focus on the act of awareness. It's not difficult. There is no technique. You need no technique. It is everything. The question is, are you more interested in who sees when you see? Or are you more interested in what you see? Are you more interested in who feels what you feel? Or are you more interested in what you feel? Are you more interested in the fact that consciousness sees thoughts? Or are you somehow more interested in the thoughts? And you know the answer. Okay? And now you got to pay attention to that. You are the consciousness. It is your sense of self. How in the world could you have more interest on the objects than on the subject? But that's my wife. Whose wife? Got it? Right? Take the wife away, you're still there. Take you away, now there's a major change. It's like, here's the flashlight, what's it shining on? Well, that's not much of a change, turn it off. That's a big difference. So you eventually catch on. The objects come and go. The subject is who you are. You are the consciousness that sees. And there's only one of you. And you should contemplate this. When you go to sleep, do you dream sometimes? Who dreams? Do you see the dreams? Are you aware that there's a dream going on? Who is aware? You will find that it is the same consciousness. The consciousness that sees this world sees the dream world. There's no difference in consciousness. There's just difference in object of consciousness. If you contemplate the sense of self, but see, those words are so spiritual. If you contemplate the sense of self, doesn't that sound good? What is that? If you contemplate who sees when you see, who notices thoughts when you're thinking, who feels the feeling when you're emoting, who is aware that this is here. It's that simple. That's what it means to contemplate the sense of self. Look how easy that is. I mean, otherwise that sounds really very lofty. Go into the corner and contemplate the sense of self. No, better this. Go into the corner and meditate. What does that mean, Master? Just go into the corner and sit down and contemplate. Contemplate what? My dog? My cat? The house I'm going to build? No. Don't contemplate those things. What? Go to the corner, son, daughter, and contemplate the sense of self for at least an hour a day. Yes, Master. What, are you kidding? What do I do now? Contemplate the sense of self. Sounds very complicated. Go into the corner and don't even bother. Do it wherever you are. Driving, showering, walking, talking, eating. I don't care. Wherever you are, notice that you notice. And then notice who notices. Just fall back to the part of you that sees. Don't answer your questions. Who sees when I see? Just ask them. It causes you to decide. Are you more interested in the object or are you more interested in the subject? Now, aside from the fact that it will affect your life so unbelievably because you're not getting all involved, you're not getting all weird about the fact that some thoughts are passing by or some feelings are coming up. It will give you a center because you've remained centered. If you're centered, the world doesn't bother you as much. Why? Because you didn't let it. Right? It's like it's just coming and going. Why are you getting so involved? The things that bothered you yesterday, where are they? Things that bothered you 3 days ago, where are they? Where are the words that somebody said? They don't exist. Where's the look that somebody didn't give you, or the one that somebody did? They don't exist. Then what are you doing? You're making big deals out of stuff. It comes and goes. Who cares? So it frees you naturally to be able to go about your life without getting all weird, because things come and go and you're aware of them. But that's nothing. You think that's what you get from that? That'd be enough. Be beyond enough. You'd pay anything for that. Not to be bothered by the world. Okay? That's nothing. You get much more than that. Because you didn't take your Shakti and get all involved in the objects, but you contemplated who sees. You invested your chi, your Shakti, in the self, because that's where you moved your consciousness back to. So yes, you did not get all weird about the objects. You managed to stay more centered, but you don't realize behind the scenes something much greater was going on. You were making deposits, bank deposits, of Chit Shakti into Chit Shakti. You're not wasting your energy on these outer things, including your mind. I told you once, thoughts are outer to a yogi. And so what happens is, inside it starts to build up. And it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next year. But at some point, if you're sincere and constantly contemplating, who am I? Who is aware of this? At some point, spontaneously, will well up inside of you, behind you, this joy, this flow of energy. That is the nature of self. You have contemplated self enough to begin to experience the nature of the light, not of the object it's shining on. Ooh, the light is scintillating, its waves and its particles, and woo, imagine getting into that. Instead of falling on what it's from, a tambourine of a bottle. No, I'm the light on the bottle, what does that mean? I don't know. That's about where you are, right? When you pull back enough away from the object, you're like, whoa, you're like this little titillating light. There's sparks of light flashing around. Whoa, that's who you are. You're just not so grounded anymore. You fell down, you were grounded. Now you're the light, right? That's what happens to the Shakti. Because you deposited it into the awareness of self, at some point, the consciousness begins to experience the nature of the inner self, the nature of consciousness, which is a flow. It's not an object. It's not frozen. It is a flow of energy. That is the nature of self. And so you experience that, and you experience it as joy. You experience of upliftment, light. Not only do you not be bothered by the world, but you get massaged all the time. You get uplifted. That would probably be enough. And all you did was say, who sees when I see? Who hears when I hear? That's nothing. You still didn't even come close to what you're going to get. So the first is you don't get all bothered by the world because you pull back, let it pass. And the second is because you're depositing your energy into the self and your consciousness into the self, you naturally, over time, your cup runneth over. That to me is what that always meant. When that Shakti starts flowing, it's like it's overflowing. It was building up and now it won't stay in. It's just whoosh, the rush of flowing waters keeps falling off of you. My cup runneth over. And so now your consciousness becomes aware of that flow of the Shakti. Fine. So now you're experiencing the nature of self. You pull into that. It seems like that should be enough. What do you say that's enough? There's a ray of light that's coming from the sun. The light is falling on an object. It pools on the object. You thought you were the object, so you're all stuck on the object. So by paying attention to the fact that the light is illuminating the object, you can remove yourself from the object. Well, that's great. Now the object's come and go. I'm free from that. And now it begins to build up enough to where you can experience yourself as a beam of light, as waves instead of solid. That's great. That's nothing. If you know yourself as a beam of light sufficiently and unanchor yourself from form, you fall back into this wave of light, into this beam of light. But fall back means like to really fall back, like to say, I don't need to be separate experiencing this object with the light falling on it, even if I know I'm not the object but I'm the light. Whoopee. I'm still me here seeing it. Wow, man. It's very linear. What if now that I know these waves and particles can be coming because I'm a beam, if I just fell into the beam? Just let go into the beam. you would know where the beam came from, because you are connected to the whole continuum, and it came from the sun. Sun's a lot bigger than the beam, by the way, in case you don't know that. Like, how much bigger is the sun than a beam? A sunbeam versus the sun. And now you know yourself as the source, as the whole, as the source of every beam that ever fell, anywhere. That's what you get from this. Enlightenment, realization, unification, merger, oneness. Your consciousness, the light of your awareness that illumines what it falls on, is the universal consciousness. It is the whole, it is the one. In the beginning, before all else was, it was. In the end, when all else has fallen away, it will still be. And you will know that as your nature, that which is, and always was, and always will be. It has no qualities. It's just the illumination of awareness. It has no features. It's neither male nor female. It just illumines male or female. It has no thoughts. Therefore it has no opinions. It has no philosophies. It has no beliefs. It has no memory. It has no past. It has no future. All things are the same to the self. It's just something it illumines. It's just being, seeing. Always was, always will be. And as you fall back into it, the universal nature of yourself becomes your seat, your awareness of being. Christ said, my Father and I are one. Yeah. It is your path. It is the path. It is Buddha's path. It is Jesus' path. It is the Bible's path. It is the Quran's path. It is the Gita's path. It is the Kabbalah's path. It's the Torah's path. It's the path. So you can occupy yourself, if you want, with lots and lots and lots of things to do so you feel busy. Or you can contemplate the self. You can pay attention all the time. That's the key. There's always a thought in there. There's always a feeling. There's always the sense of body. And there's always the world. Lots of reminders that somebody's aware of all this, aren't you? And all you have to do is decide that you are more interested in the awareness, the subject, than you are in whatever happens to be before it at this particular moment, because it just keeps changing, doesn't it? And when you can live like that, when you've decided, that's how I'm going to live, all the time. And there are no exceptions. Hear me? Somebody goes, I don't know what to do. My husband left me, and my emotions are just going so crazy. I don't know what they're going to do. It's like, the Master's advice is very simple. Notice that. Notice what? Notice that your emotions are going crazy. Well, of course I notice it. I wouldn't come here if I didn't notice it. No, just notice it. Well, how can I just notice it? By just noticing it. There is no melodrama. There's just the awareness of what's going on. It doesn't matter what it is if you're seated in the self. So your challenge is, do you want to live this? Because you hear it and you know you can. Do you want to? What is it that's more important than your self-realization? What? Find out what it is that you're more interested in than God. Because that's what you're doing. All right? And eventually you say, nothing, I'm sorry, nothing. I am willing to watch anything and everything for the honor of knowing who's watching. And I'm going to say the worse or the better it gets, your choice of how you wish to look at it, that which is most disturbing, complicated, confusing, difficult, is that which challenges you the most to say, do you want to just watch? Or do you want to get involved? A wise being does not ever get involved. ever you get involved in the self, it is your source of joy, of love. It is your best friend. It is your beloved. It has within itself everything you ever wanted or would ever need. And you will never ever be satisfied with anything else ever again. Because what comes in through the self and the natural experience of the direct connection to our soul as being fed by spirit is beyond any experience you can ever have. And so, it doesn't mean you don't have experiences. They just happen to you. So, I was standing here and look what happened. I got married. Had a kid. Just sitting in here, watching. And look what happened. You understand? None of it makes any difference. Who will live that? Who is willing to live that truth? Chakra.